You've done the work. You laughed. You healed. You promised yourself never again. And then it happened again. Different person, same dynamic, same pain. And you're sitting there asking the question that's been haunting you. Why does this keep happening to me? Is something wrong with me? Am I the problem? Here's the truth that nobody tells you. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're not cursed. You were trained. And today we're going to understand exactly how, and exactly how to finally break free. If you've been in more than one relationship with a narcissist, or toxic, emotionally unavailable, controlling people, it doesn't mean you're naive. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It means something happened to you, probably long before you ever started dating, that made you the perfect target for exactly this type of person. Narcissists are predators, and predators don't choose randomly. They study, they identify, they target specific wounds. And until those wounds are healed, the pattern will repeat. No matter how much therapy you do, no matter how many red flag lists you memorize, no matter how many times you promise yourself, never again. Because the pattern doesn't live in your head. It lives in your body, in your nervous system, in the deepest parts of who you learn to be. This video is about understanding that and changing it. Section 1. Your nervous system learned what love feels like. Here's something most people don't know. Your nervous system learned what love feels like before you were old enough to question it. If you grew up in a home where love was conditional, where affection had to be earned, where one parent was unpredictable, critical, or emotionally absent, your nervous system registered that chaos as normal. Not just normal, familiar. And familiar feels like home. Even when home was painful. So when a narcissist enters your life and creates that same push and pull, that same hot and cold, that same desperate need to earn their love, your nervous system doesn't say, warning. It says, finally. Someone I recognize. That feeling of intensity, of walking on eggshells, of working to earn someone's love. That doesn't feel like abuse to your nervous system. It feels like love. Because that's what love felt like when you first learned it. This isn't your fault. It's your programming. And programming can be changed. Section 2. The wounds narcissists target. Narcissists are extraordinarily perceptive. Before they ever make their move, they study you. They identify your wounds, your needs, the invisible hunger you carry. And then they feed it, just enough to hook you. Here are the most common wounds they target. Wound 1. The need to be chosen. If you grew up feeling overlooked, invisible, or like you had to compete for love, you have a deep hunger to finally be chosen. Completely. unconditionally. The narcissist love bombing feeds that hunger perfectly. For the first time, someone is pursuing you relentlessly, choosing you above everyone else. It feels like everything you ever wanted, until it's used against you. Wound 2. The belief that love must be earned. If love in your childhood was conditional, given when you performed well and withdrawn when you didn't, you learned that love is something you earn, not something you simply receive. So when the narcissist withdraws their affection, you don't leave. You work harder. Because somewhere deep inside, you believe that if you just do enough, be enough, give enough, the love will return. That belief is the trap. Wound 3. Low sense of self-worth. If you grew up being criticized, dismissed, or made to feel like you were too much or not enough, you may carry a quiet belief that you don't deserve better, that this is just what relationships look like, that you're lucky someone wants you at all. Narcissists sense this immediately, and they use it to keep you small and grateful for crumbs. Wound 4. The fixer and the caretaker. If you grew up in a home where you had to manage someone else's emotions, a depressed parent, an angry parent, an unstable parent, you became a fixer, a caretaker, someone who finds purpose in saving others. Narcissists are endlessly broken in ways that invite fixing, and you, wired to find love through caretaking, pour yourself into them completely, while they take everything and give nothing back. Wound 5. Fear of abandonment. If you experienced early abandonment, physically or emotionally, you may carry a terror of being left that overrides everything else. So when the narcissist threatens to leave, explicitly or through silence and withdrawal, that terror takes over, and you will do almost anything to make them stay, even things that destroy you. You just learned the 5 wounds narcissists target. The need to be chosen. Love must be earned. Low self-worth. The fixer. Fear of abandonment. If you recognized yourself in any of those, you're not alone. And you're not broken. You're someone who was hurt before you were old enough to protect yourself. The next section reveals something even deeper. Why the most toxic relationships feel like the most intense love you've ever experienced. And why that feeling is one of the most dangerous traps your nervous system can fall into. Keep going. This is where it starts to make sense. Section 3. Why toxic feels like love. Here's the question nobody asks. Why does the most painful relationship feel like the most passionate love? Why do you miss them, even knowing how badly they treated you? Why does healthy love, when you finally find it, feel boring compared to what you had with them? The answer is trauma bonding. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, your brain is constantly cycling between 2 states: fear and relief, anxiety and reassurance, pain and comfort. And that cycle, that constant, unpredictable switching between suffering and safety, creates one of the most powerful neurological bonds a human being can experience. Every time they return after withdrawing, your brain releases a flood of dopamine. The relief of their return feels like love, like proof they care, like everything is going to be okay. But it's not love. It's your nervous system desperately trying to regulate itself. The intensity you feel isn't passion, it's anxiety. The connection you feel isn't deep, it's dependency. And the love you feel, as real as it feels, is built on a foundation of pain. Real love doesn't make you feel crazy. Real love doesn't make your stomach drop when they don't text back. Real love doesn't feel like finally being able to breathe when they're kind to you. That relief, that desperate gratitude for basic kindness, that's not love. That's survival. And you deserve so much more than survival. Section 4. Why you stayed and why that makes sense. Before we talk about breaking the pattern, we need to talk about why you stayed and why that makes complete sense. You stayed because the beginning was real to you. You stayed because you saw who they could be, and you believed in that person. You stayed because leaving felt like abandoning someone who needed you. You stayed because the trauma bond made leaving feel like dying. You stayed because your nervous system had been trained since childhood to equate this kind of chaos with love. And you stayed because somewhere deep inside, a part of you didn't believe you deserved anything better. None of that makes you weak. All of it makes you human. A human who was hurt long before this relationship began. The narcissist didn't create your wounds. They found them, and they exploited them. The healing isn't about forgiving them. It's about understanding yourself so deeply and completely that nobody can ever use your wounds against you again. You now understand why you attracted them, why toxic felt like love, and why staying made sense to your nervous system. If you're sitting there feeling seen right now, that feeling is the beginning of something important. The next section is about breaking the pattern for good, not just avoiding narcissists, but healing the wounds so deeply that you become someone they can no longer reach. Because that's the real freedom, not just escaping the relationship, but becoming someone the relationship could never have happened to. Keep going. Section 5. Breaking the pattern for good. Step 1. Name what happened to you. The pattern begins in childhood, and healing begins when you stop minimizing what happened there. Maybe it wasn't dramatic. Maybe there was no obvious abuse. But if you grew up feeling unseen, unloved, conditional, like you had to earn your place, that was real. That mattered. That shaped you. Give yourself permission to name it. Not to blame your parents, but to understand yourself. Step 2. Learn to recognize your nervous system's signals. The narcissist felt exciting, intense, like electricity. That electricity was anxiety. And your nervous system had learned to call it love. Real love feels different, safer, quieter, less urgent. Start noticing what safety actually feels like in your body. Not excitement, not intensity, not the desperate need to earn someone's approval. Safety, consistency, peace. Learn to want that. Learn to trust it. Learn to choose it even when it feels unfamiliar. Step 3. Heal your attachment wounds. The wounds narcissists target are almost always attachment wounds, formed in early relationships with caregivers. Healing them requires going back there, with a therapist, with inner child work, with the kind of self-compassion most of us were never shown. This is deep work, slow work, uncomfortable work. But it is the only work that actually changes the pattern at its root. Step 4. Build the relationship with yourself first. Narcissists target people who are searching for something outside themselves. Validation, worth, the feeling of being chosen. The most powerful protection you can build is a relationship with yourself so strong that you no longer need those things from anyone else. When you know your worth, genuinely know it in your bones, you don't stay for crumbs. You don't beg for basic kindness. You don't mistake intensity for love. You simply know what you deserve, and you wait for it. Step 5. Redefine what love feels like. After a narcissistic relationship, healthy love can feel wrong, too calm, too consistent, too easy. Your nervous system will tell you there's no spark, no passion, no connection. But what it's really saying is there's no chaos, no anxiety, no desperate need to earn their love. And that's not absence of love. That is love. Retrain yourself to recognize it, to welcome it, to trust it. The quiet, steady love that stays, that is worth more than every love bomb that ever exploded in your life. You now have the 5 steps to breaking the pattern for good. Name what happened. Learn your nervous system's signals. Heal your attachment wounds. Build the relationship with yourself. Redefine what love feels like. The final section is the most important thing I want you to hear today. It's about what's waiting for you on the other side of this pattern. Who you become when the wound is healed. And why, once you get there, you will never be a target again. Stay with me. Section 6. Who you become when the pattern breaks. On the other side of this work, you become someone different. Not hardened, not closed, not suspicious of everyone, but grounded, clear, rooted in yourself in a way you've never experienced before. You stop choosing people who need saving and start choosing people who are already whole. You stop mistaking chaos for passion and start recognizing peace as the most romantic thing in the world. You stop shrinking to fit someone else's needs and start taking up exactly the space you deserve. You stop attracting narcissists. Not because you've built walls, but because the wounds they used to find, the hunger they used to feed, are no longer there. Healed wounds don't disappear, they become wisdom. The same sensitivity that made you a target becomes your greatest gift. The ability to feel deeply, love fully, and connect authentically. The same capacity for loyalty that narcissists exploited becomes the foundation of the most beautiful relationships of your life. You don't become less, you become more yourself than you've ever been. And from that place, you don't just avoid narcissists, you become someone they cannot touch. You didn't keep attracting narcissists because something is wrong with you. You attracted them because something was done to you. Long before you were old enough to understand it, your wounds were real. Your love was real. Your hope was real. And none of it was your fault. But your healing, that is yours. The pattern ends when you decide to understand it deeply enough that it has nowhere left to hide. That's what you're doing right now. By watching this. By wanting to understand. By refusing to let this be the rest of your story. The pattern ends here. Welcome to clarity. Welcome to healing. Welcome to you. If this video described your life, drop a comment right now and type, "The pattern ends here." Because it does. And saying that out loud is the first step to making it true. If this gave you clarity, hit that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because every week on Hidden Truth Mindset, we expose the psychology most people never learn. So you can understand what was done to you, heal from it, and never be a target again. If you want to understand the tactics they used on you, watch this next. It breaks down love bombing, the first weapon narcissists use, and exactly how they made you fall before you ever had a chance. That video is on screen now. Watch it, because understanding the trap is how you make sure it never closes around you again. The pattern ends here, not because you're running from them, but because you finally understand yourself. Welcome to clarity. I'll see you in the next one.